Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. And today we're going to explore something pretty remarkable. We're going to be looking at a blog post by Ira Warren Whiteside. He's pretty well known in the data governance world, but back in 2014, Ira's life took a pretty sharp turn. He had a brainstem stroke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And now, 10 years later, he's sharing his story of recovery, and it is full of some really unexpected twists and turns.
Hmm. You know what I find really captivating about Ira's story is how he connects his recovery to this idea of self-governance for health, which is something he learned from his daughter Victoria.
Okay, so let's break this down a little. This whole self-governance thing, it's pretty intriguing from what I understand. It's about using all of the technology and tools that we have available to us today, things like fitness trackers and sleep apps and even those devices that monitor blood sugar. But it's more than just like collecting the data. It's about understanding those numbers and then using them to make informed decisions about your health without needing a doctor to interpret everything for you.
Exactly. Ira actually believes that a lot of the health issues that he was facing before the stroke were more about his lifestyle choices than any kind of genetic predisposition. He was basically saying
Yeah.
that he had the power to change things all along.
And that's where his daughter Victoria comes in, right?
Right.
She's a big proponent of this whole self-governance approach, and she guided him toward a pretty radical dietary shift, whole natural foods, cutting out sugar, processed stuff, alcohol, a far cry from the typical American diet.
Yeah, it really is. And the results are, they're pretty impressive. Over the course of 4 years, Ira lost over 100 pounds. And the most amazing part is that he didn't resort to any crazy fad diets. He just changed what he ate.
Wow, that's serious dedication. But it sounds like it really paid off because it wasn't just the weight loss. As Ira shed those pounds, he saw a whole bunch of health improvements start to follow. His high blood pressure disappeared. He no longer needed eye injections for his retinopathy. His early stage kidney disease reversed. And even his type 2 diabetes went away. And get this, he's off all medications now.
It's incredible. It really makes you think, right? Like he just hit a reset button on his health by changing his diet.
It's almost too good to be true. But as they say, every rose has its thorn. And for Ira, this amazing progress came with a pretty unexpected twist. So after the weight loss and all these health improvements, he started having some trouble with his balance and speech.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
You can imagine how jarring that must have been. Both he and his doctors actually initially thought
Yeah.
that his stroke condition was getting worse. It's like you're making all this amazing progress,
Yeah.
and then bam, new problems just pop up. It's understandable that they would jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. But it turns out the real culprits were something called stroke decomposition and vestibular dizziness. Basically, Ira's brain had become so used to his old weight that it needed time to adjust to these pretty dramatic changes in his body. It's like his body was playing catch-up.
Wow, so it's like
Yeah.
you've got this really intricate network of nerves and connections in your brain.
Yeah.
They're all finely tuned to how your body functioned before. But now, with this significant weight loss, those connections are having to rewire themselves and adapt to this new physical reality. It's like a massive reorganization project is happening inside his brain.
That makes a lot of sense. So these new challenges,
Yeah.
as frustrating as they must be, are actually a sign that his brain is still healing.
And rewiring itself right.
Exactly. And that's how Ira sees it, too. He doesn't view these new hurdles as setbacks. He views them as evidence of his brain's incredible plasticity and its ability to adapt, even years after a stroke. He even mentioned experiencing some cognitive benefits, like his thinking feels as sharp as it did 20 years ago.
That's incredible. It's like his brain is not only healing, it's getting an upgrade in the process.
It really does highlight the interconnectedness of our physical and mental well-being, doesn't it?
It does. And speaking of interconnectedness, Ira also talks about how this entire experience has shifted his perspective on medical science.
Interesting. Yeah.
How so?
Well, he's come to realize that following the science isn't always as straightforward as it seems. What's considered scientific truth today could change over time. And he's really learned the importance of personal observation and understanding his body's unique responses.
Yeah,
He even uses the phrase, trust but verify, which I think perfectly captures his approach. He values medical expertise, but he also emphasizes the need for individual discernment. It's like being an active participant in your health journey rather than just passively following orders.
Yeah, it's a much more nuanced perspective. It challenges that idea of just blindly accepting medical advice without taking into consideration your own experiences and your own intuition.
Absolutely. And on that note of trusting your gut, Ira really emphasizes how crucial his support system has been throughout this whole thing. His late wife, Teresa, his daughter, Victoria, and his fiancée, Caro. They've all been pillars of strength for him.
That's wonderful. It really highlights the importance
Yeah.
of having those people in your corner who believe in you and support your efforts, especially when you're facing some unconventional health challenge.
Right. It's a good reminder that healing and transformation are rarely solo endeavors.
Yeah, for sure. So what stands out to you so far in Ira's story? What resonates the most with you?
Honestly, for me, it's just the sheer determination and resilience that he embodies. This man went through a stroke, he adapted, and then completely revolutionized his health. Even though he had all these new and unexpected obstacles, it's a powerful testament to the human capacity for change.
I completely agree. It's inspiring to see how Ira just took control of his health and challenged conventional medical wisdom in the process. His story makes us question our own assumptions and consider some alternative approaches to well-being.
Yeah, it really does. And you know what? There's a lot more to uncover in Ira's story. We'll be right back.
To continue our deep dive. After a quick break, Ira's journey really raises an interesting question for me. How much do we actually understand about the long-term effects of losing a lot of weight? Especially when you consider someone recovering from a stroke.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about it like that. You know, we always hear about the benefits of weight loss, but Ira's experience really shows that it's not always a simple equation, especially when you throw in a neurological event like a stroke.
Yeah, exactly. It shows just how much we still don't know about medicine and the body. Even with the best intentions, doctors just might not have all the answers, especially cases that are as unique as Ira's.
Right, which makes his emphasis on self-governance even more compelling. It's about not just blindly following what we're told, but taking a more proactive and informed approach to our health.
I think that trust but verify thing is important. It's not about dismissing medical expertise entirely. It's about empowering yourself to be an active participant in your own journey. Like Ira used his data to make decisions. He tracked his blood pressure and adjusted his diet based on what he saw. He was constantly learning and refining his approach.
So it's like you become the CEO of your own health. You're using all the tools available to you to track your data and understand how your body reacts, and then make decisions based on that.
Exactly. And his dietary shift is a perfect example of this. He eliminated all sugar, alcohol, and processed foods. He just stuck to whole natural foods.
Which, let's be honest, is a pretty radical departure from how most people eat today. But you can't deny the results. He didn't just lose weight. He reversed some serious chronic conditions.
Also, almost like he cracked the code of his own biology by understanding how his body responded to different foods. And that's the exciting part of self-governance. It encourages us to see ourselves as complex systems, not just passive recipients of care.
Yeah, you're not just taking orders. You're like a scientist, experimenting with your own body. You make adjustments. You see how things change. And you keep refining your approach based on those results.
Exactly. And while it might be challenging, Ira's journey shows that it can lead to some big breakthroughs. But it's not always easy. Remember those balance and speech issues he had after losing the weight?
Oh, yeah. That was a real curveball, especially after all the progress he'd made.
Right. But instead of seeing that as a setback, he chose to see it as a sign that his body was continuing to heal and adapt. His brain was literally rewiring itself, adjusting to this new physical state.
So even though it seemed like things were getting worse, it was actually a sign of deeper healing. It's like a reminder that healing isn't always a straight line.
Yeah, sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and then 3 steps forward again.
And on top of the physical changes, there's also the cognitive boost that he experienced. He said his thinking was as sharp as it was 20 years ago.
That's amazing.
It really challenges that idea that we inevitably decline as we age. You know he's showing us that it's possible to not only regain function, but to even surpass previous levels of vitality. It makes you wonder if we've underestimated the body's ability to heal and regenerate.
Yeah, if we just give it the right support.
Exactly. And speaking of support, Ira talked a lot about the role that his loved ones played. His wife, his daughter, and his fiancée. They were all so important to him.
Yeah, it's easy to forget how powerful that human connection can be.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going through something as challenging as changing your entire approach to health.
Yeah, it can be really isolating, especially when you feel you're going against the grain.
Having people who believe in you, and who support you can make a world of difference.
Right, it's like healing is a team sport. You need those people in your corner.
Absolutely.
So where do we go from here? Ira's story is really something else, but I think there are some valuable lessons for us all. What do you think? What can we take away and maybe even try to apply to our own lives?
I think it's a wake-up call. It makes us really rethink our relationship with health and wellness. Are we actually in control, or are we just kind of passively relying on these external systems?
Ira's experience definitely shows how powerful self-governance can be, but it also shows how important it is to pay attention and experiment and even be a little skeptical, you know?
Yeah, he didn't just blindly follow the doctor's orders. He questioned things and did his own research and kind of carved his own path to get better.
It really highlights how important it is to be involved in your own health journey.
It's not enough to just sit back and let things happen. You got to take charge.
And while those dietary changes were a huge part of Ira's story, we can't forget that everyone's different.
Oh yeah, for sure. What works for one person might not work for another.
It's not about copying him exactly,
Hmm,
but understanding those principles behind it, you know? Paying attention to what you eat and how it makes you feel, and then making choices that are good for you.
exactly.
And of course, we can't forget about support. Ira talked a lot about how important his support system was during his recovery.
That's so true. Having those people who believe in you can make all the difference, especially when you're trying something new or different.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that we're not meant to do this alone. We need each other. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Ira's story, I have a question for you. What if we all tried to embrace this self-governance idea?
That's an interesting thought. What if we stopped seeing our bodies as these big mysteries and started seeing them as systems that we can learn about and change?
What if we questioned everything and explored different ways to be healthy? Ira's story shows just how strong the human spirit can be and how much power we have to change our health.
It's like an invitation to try something new, to be empowered and informed and really take an active role in our health.
It definitely gives us a lot to think about, that's for sure. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up for today. But remember, keep diving deep and keep asking those questions.